All right, here we are. We're live. We're back. Live in action. Hello, everybody. Good to see y'all. Welcome back. Dirt Track Untold. We got Monday Night Live. We're live again here on Monday night. Back after a little break last week that wasn't really planned. A little bit of a storm up here. Knocked out the internet. Knocked out the power. Weren't able to get back up here. But we're back live this week. We're going to start talking. Man, we got to catch up on last week. Like I said, we were out. And then we'll get into the stuff from this week as well. Later on in the program, we got Billy Pauch Jr. coming in. So we got one of the last branches of the DTU team coming in. And going to have a little chat with me and you guys. Appreciate everybody that's in the chat right now. Guys, let me know that you're here. If you have any questions for Billy, drop them in the comments or in the chat. I see a few already. Jeff, how you guys going? We're good. First time seeing this, Dave. Dave Walden, appreciate you stopping in for the first time. Bobby Collins from Western North Carolina. All right. Tim from near Wheatsport. Appreciate you, Tim. Brad. When does Mike go from spectator to racer? Pretty soon. I think he's going to get going here pretty soon. Ask Billy if he's going to run New Egypt on the off nights from Bridgeport. We're going to get into that. I got a feeling we're going to get into what his plans are, and we're going to get going from there. Freezing on Facebook. Yeah, that's surprising. I can't really see. Yeah, let's see what we got going on here. Can you hear me over on the Facebook side? Well, if you want, you can come over to the YouTube channel. If you're hearing me. I can't really tell. I see Facebook up, but I can't really tell what's going on. Oh, there it is. Looks like everything's going okay. Looks fine on Facebook. Yeah. Thanks, Mike. Mike Mahaney's in the chat, guys. Don't bully him. He's here. Yeah, from what I can see, it looks pretty good too. So appreciate you. Might need to hit the refresh. I hate telling people that it's on them, but you might need to hit the refresh button. I can hear on Facebook. Thank you, Ed. Appreciate it. Yeah, sorry if I'm not going to get to the Facebook comments and stuff. I'm still kind of going through how this is all going to work. I got stuff spread out all over the place. But yeah, Nicholas, what's going on? How you doing? Appreciate you guys stopping in. All right, I want to get into a few things here. I want to catch up on last. Well, we're looking at what, 2 weeks ago now. When it comes to all the stuff that happened down in Volusia, we had the late models. We had the dirt car nationals for late models. We had the winter dirt games for the USAC non-wing sprint cars, and then we had, of course, for those that are following along on this channel, probably really interested, and we're following along with the Super Dirt Car Series at Volusia. So we'll get into some of the results and talk about a little bit of stuff that went on there before we bring Billy Pauch Jr. into the world over here. So we'll get into that real quick, and let's fire it off. Let's get going, right? All right, so we had like I said, we had the dirt car nationals. For the late models, they ran just the dirt car late models, and then they ran the World of Outlaws super late models. It was super late models for 6 nights down there at Volusia. And so the first night was won by Nick Hoffman. Night 1, he took home the first Gator. It was actually his 25th Gator. That was the craziest stat I've ever. I did not think that Nick was that. I knew he was good, but I didn't think he had won a Gator 25 times down there in Volusia. So he took home night one. It was Nick Hoffman, Ricky Thornton Jr., Jonathan Davenport, Max Blair, and then Ryan Gustin rounded out the top five when you came, for the first night of the super late models down in Volusia. And then the second night, Ricky Thornton Jr. Was the winner for the late model feature that night. He was a fast car for really the whole week that they were down there. So you had Ricky Thornton Jr., Tyler Erb, Bobby Pierce, Jonathan Davenport, and then Brandon Overton for the second night. And then the third night that they were down there, they ran 3 features. I didn't even get to do much with the graphic here. They ran 3 features that night. So I just put the winners up there. Ricky Thornton Jr., Jonathan Davenport, and Brandon Overton won the 3 features that night. Had to have been a great night to be at the racetrack, because I was just like, wait, they're running 3 features? That's the night you wanted to be at the racetrack, right? 3 super late model features, but those guys, they put on a show. So you had 3 of the top names, like I said, with Thornton Jr., Davenport, and Overton taking home the wins that night. Then the next night after that, it switched over to the World of Outlaws series with the super late models. They ended up coming in for the first night, and it was Garrett Galberson won on Thursday night for the first night with the World of Outlaws in the Dirt Car Nationals with the super late models. You had Alberson, Pierce, Moran, Dotson, and then Thornton Jr. once again in the top 5, running well. The second night with the World of Outlaws, but the 5th night overall for that week on Friday night, you had Devin Moran winning on Friday night. Devin Moran, Davenport, Thornton Jr., Alberson was again in the top 5 there, with Ryan Gustin coming home in 5th. These guys put on a show every night. It's crazy. It's crazy good racing. So then you had for the third night with the World of Outlaws with the late models, but the final night for the Dirt Car Nationals in Volusia with the super late models, you had Davenport, Troutman, Hoffman, Overton, and then Moran. The overall winner being Ricky Thornton Jr. I mean, you saw his name in the top 5 a whole bunch of times there, but he took home all 6, took home the trophy, the big Gator, from all 6 nights of racing with the late models. So then we're going to switch over now to the USAC sprints, who were down at Volusia and then Aculla. They put on a show for the Winter Dirt Games 16. I actually had the Roman numerals up here, but I had to put a 16 next to it because I can read Roman numerals, but I knew I would screw it up if I looked at it. But yeah, Kyle Cummins getting the victory on Monday night with the USAC AMSOIL sprint cars in the first night at Volusia for the Winter Dirt Games. So you had Kyle Cummins, Dazen Pursley, Brady Bacon, Justin Grant, and then Briggs Danner. Now there's a name I did not expect to see. Not because Briggs is a great driver. I was really impressed to see his name on this in the top 5 for a couple of these nights, and he ran really well. So good for Briggs to get his name out there even more. He's running really well with these guys. Second night was taken by Logan Seavey for the final night at Volusia. It was Seavey, Kyle Cummins, Dazen Pursley, Briggs, Danner once again, and Cale Drake rounded out the top 5 for the second night and final night of Volusia. And then they went over to Aculla Speedway for the third night for these guys. And that one was taken by Justin Grant. He got his 8th career USAC AMSOIL victory. Justin Grant at Aculla Speedway for the third night of the Winter Dirt Games. So yeah, Justin Grant, Kyle Cummins, Dazen Pursley, Mitchell Moles, and Jake Swanson. The second night over at Aculla On the 13th, you had Brady Bacon picking up the win there. For his 59th career USAC Amsoil National Sprint Car win. 59th career. Thursday night there over there at Aculla Speedway. So you had Bacon, Persley, Grant, Moles, and Cummins taking up the top 5 there. The 5th night for the Winter Dirt Games, the 3rd night over at Aculla, they got going again. You had Kyle Cummins picking up the win, making a late race move to pick up the win over Days and Persley. CJ Leary got into the top 5 that night. Justin Grant and Brady Bacon rounded out the top 5. And then on the final night, 10 grand on the line for the final night over there at Aculla for the USAC National Sprints. You had Days and Persley capturing 10 grand for the Winter Dirt Games. 16. Once again, I had to put 16 because I knew the Roman numerals would screw me up. But at Aculla, they rounded out that. Kyle Cummins got the Winter Dirt Games championship. Took home 5 grand for that. 6 top 5 finishes. You're gonna end up winning the championship. Doesn't matter. He got 2 wins and 6 top 5s throughout 6 nights of racing there. And then now let's get over to our boys with the Super Dirt Car Series. Night 1. Fireworks. Craziness. As you can see in the video, our boy Billy Pauch Jr. took them Aculla. Appreciate it, Matt. So you had Billy leading the way on the first night there. That's the video I had to use because Billy was in a lot of it. You had Matt Shepard taking the win that night. Little controversy up front there. I know everybody's was itching to talk about that one. Between Matt Shepard and the 3rd place finisher Alex Yankowski, a little bit of stuff going on there. Little bit of drama talking about who's right and wrong when it comes to where you're supposed to start, who's supposed to be in control. I wish I had the video. I apologize that I don't have the video of some of the stuff in question. You'll see in the video that's on here. There's some stuff that goes down on a couple of the restarts later on, but the restart in question where Alex was a little bit of ahead of. I say a little bit. He was a lot of bit ahead of Matt when they came to the restart area. Listen, you can't blame the 2nd place car for wanting to get a little bit of an advantage, but those things, but you also have to realize that you might get called for jumping. You're gonna tick off the guy next to you, so those things are gonna happen. I think Matt was laying back a little bit too. He was playing, as they were saying. For the time afterwards, these guys started playing games. I see both sides of it. It's tough for me to go like he was right, he was wrong. I see what the 2nd place car was doing, what Alex was doing. I see Matt's point of view. I don't like how he handled it afterwards, where he was running Alex up the racetrack on the restarts after that. I don't think that was the right way to go. I don't know if these guys have some history in the back pocket that's that was coming up. I know Alex is relatively new to the Super Dirt Car Series world. You can see on the screen here right now, Matt just runs up the racetrack, kind of puts Alex in a bad spot, and ultimately really escalates the situation to where it didn't need to be. Gamesmanship. Listen, yeah, you're talking. That's a good point, Nicholas. It's really just. You're not, as a 2nd place car, you're not just going to give it up to the leader. You got to fight a little bit. Ultimately, it looks a little bit bad when you look at the replay, but I don't know. There's a lot to go on there. Leave your opinions. I think it's just good hard racing between those two guys, and we'll just leave it at that. But please, I want to hear your opinion about it. Second night, we had Jankowski picking up the win over Rudolph, Williamson, Larry White, and Peter Britton. The third night for the guys in Volusia, you had Britton, Payne, Rudolph, Williamson, and Jankowski rounding out the top 5. And then the final night where Jankowski would end up taking the championship in the Big Gator, you had Eric Rudolph picking up a win, which was his first one in the Dirt Car Nationals, that was really cool to hear. That was good for Eric Rudolph. You had Williamson, Shepard, Payne, and then Rick Laubach coming in the top 5. So it was good, good hard racing. It was enjoyable to watch the Super Dirt Car guys down there. They put on a good show, and ultimately, I think that's really, that really just showed a lot that these guys could put on a good show down at Volusia, and give the fans a exciting time. We're gonna go real quick into. We're going to go really quick into the Trenton results. We're going to talk a lot of Trenton with Billy when he comes on here. Unfortunately, I couldn't get video and stuff from the Trenton Indoor guys, but congratulations to the Beeler boys. Zach and Pat, they swept it. So the kid Zach, dad Pat, swept the boys over in Trenton up here in New Jersey. Zach took home the first night on Friday night. You had Zach Beeler, Luke Thomas, Billy Pauch Jr., Keith McIntyre, and then Pat Beeler, old dad, was in the back of the top 5 there. And then Pat would really put a whooping on these guys. Literally put a whooping on these guys on Saturday. So you had Pat Beeler taking home the big win. Kenny Miller, Keith McIntyre, Briggs Danner, and Billy finished 5th. Good racing. Everything I saw was good. It looked like it was a little bottom feeder kind of heavy. Some of the racing. But that's going to happen. I think that's indoor racing too. The dirt stuff in indoor is still kind of new-ish. They only do this once a year. But it was a good show. I enjoyed watching it back. I enjoyed watching the behind the scenes stuff. There was room for people for guys to move around and make moves when they wanted to or needed to. I feel like maybe the top wasn't there for some of the guys that were racing. There was a lot of moves being made in the alphabet mains outside of the A main. There was Nicholas, I agree. Could use more banking. Maybe that's part of it. I think you might be right there, but who knows when it comes to designing these little tracks. I really don't know. I don't know what goes into all that. I really don't know what goes into all that, but good showing. We're going to ask Billy what he thinks here in a minute, and he'll give us his 2 cents about the whole deal. He was up front, running up front. Looked like he tested the high side a decent amount of times, but he looked like he was catfishing around the bottom, like with the best of them for most of the weekend. But good stuff, and we're gonna get into it with Billy here in just a second. I see my guy waiting. I don't want to make him wait too much longer. All right, let's get him in here. All right, Bill, can you hear me? Hang on, he might be muted. Are you muted on my end?
Unmute.
Hey, there we go.
Look at that. See, welcome to the party. It's kind of like a prom date. I was late to prom.
No, you're like a wizard. You're never late. You arrive exactly when you mean to. What's
Well,
up,
that's
bud?
it, right? It's funny. Before we get into Grayson, right? So funny story. I had a crew guy, right?
Hmm.
He was going to prom, right? This is younger days. This was about 30 years ago. Um, what girlfriend's pregnant at the time, tells his girlfriend he's going for a pack of cigarettes. Went to the whole races at Flemington, never took his future wife to be to the prom. Never took his future.
Oh, jeez. Well, that's what. That's a
That's
heck
a
of a.
true diehard, right? Like,
That's that's dedication, man. That's dedication to.
yeah,
Those were different days. I don't know if. Listen, that's an
yeah,
interesting one.
right? Like
That's an
different
interesting
different
one.
times, different times. So maybe that's why it didn't work out in the long run for him.
That was going to be my next question. Do you think they're still together, or are they still together?
Nah, nah, that didn't work out too well. Yeah, yeah, no, we could talk about that offline, a different subject, different conversation, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, how you doing, bud? Where are we seeing you? Are you at the shop right now?
I am in the shop. I am in what is we call the lunchroom. I would move you around, but you're like all set up and propped up. So currently, right, it's everyone asks me, right, like what do you do to keep this stuff going? You don't miss a day, right? Like yesterday we got done. We watched from 11 to 5, and then we just came here tonight for a little bit. So
Hmm.
in between that, I wanted to talk to one what is we're gonna call you the anchor man, Jordon Cox, right?
I'll take
Live
it.
on Monday Night Lights. So we just gotta get him an intro. We gotta talk to the boss, see if you can get like a cool intro.
Yeah, that's not in the budget right now, but we're gonna work on that. It's
All right.
definitely
Well, the anchor man started out giving weather in San Diego, and he made it to the top.
stay classy, San Diego.
There
Um,
you go.
so all right, yeah, I can now tell where you're at there. So you're at the shop, you're working hard right now. Let's dive into since I just came off the results. Let's dive into Trenton. How was your weekend? I got a few questions, but what are your overall thoughts about how Friday and Saturday night went for you? I mean, you ended up in the top five both nights. What do you got for me? How was it?
I mean, we got fifth. Everything I made in prize money, I just bought new glasses on Sunday because I hit the infield tire by myself. So,
Oh, were
yeah,
people really,
it was
really
all
picking on you
good,
that
right?
bad? Oh,
Anybody
you
that
needed
knows me, like,
glasses? Really?
yeah, I thought maybe I needed glasses, but I did pass, man. I actually got a 2015, which is shocking, but no, don't move on Saturday, right? Friday night, Friday night, I drew 10th, right? Was first one out in time trials, which kind of threw me for a loop. I didn't know where to go on the track, and I kind of like ran three-quarters of the way up, which was if anybody's seen a racetrack, like they just tilled the top and they did nothing to the bottom. Well, I didn't think the bottom was that fast. The bottom ended up setting time, quick time, where I ended up 13th out of 50, right?
Yeah.
Um, just didn't hit that perfect, but we went back, we kind of addressed it, right? And went from fourth to win the qualifier, which was pretty good. And then in the feature, we started. I got 10th, right? So I was like, there's take the chance $3,500. So we drove all the way up to second, and I got to second with one to go, and I was like, all right, $3,500 or $200. So I took a shot the last lap and lost a spot, but
Yeah.
um, 3,200 was a big difference, so I figured I would go for it. Zach Bueller that night did a really great job of getting around the track.
Yeah.
I heard you talking about the technicality of it, right? Like when it rips the top, it rips, but when it goes to the bottom, it goes to the bottom. You know, I wish they could figure out how to keep the top for about 10 laps longer because think
Yeah.
about it, right? It's the cool thing about that deal is you're running the bottom, you got to move to the top, and then you got to move back to the bottom. That's racing, right? Like when you're thinking about which lane you got to go at which time, that makes you such a better race. And such a cool atmosphere on that. When we're coming through, right? I get up under Timmy, I get back, we're going back and forth, and boom, lit the U tire around. I went coming back
Yep.
through. I was in and out of cars. Lamar, Keith, John, they all get a really great car this weekend. So I was like back in and out and just drove myself all the way up to fourth. And I don't even know if many people wrecked in front of me. It was just making the right moves at the right time. And another driver came up
Yeah.
and goes, well, how do you do that? Right. And I was like, you got to remember, right? I'm like 8 or 10 races into the year already. So my reflexes are there. And I usually drive two cars ahead of it. Right. So
Hmm.
there's a restart with a couple laps to go. And I was like looking up there. I'm like, this is going to be like a pack of cars up to no good. So I'm going to back up. So I backed it up a little bit. son of a gun, almost worked out. They almost wrecked. I almost came out third. I should have been third instead of fifth. But they luckily kept going. I went from seventh to fifth. So that was the one that wrecked. But I was like, man, you got to judge who you're around, and just what makes sense.
Yeah, luckily it seemed a lot of those guys. I mean, you've raced with a decent amount of these guys in the 600s, so you kind of know, especially when it came to like Friday night. You've ran against Briggs, you've ran against Timmy, you've ran against these guys, so you know who you can kind of get a little aggressive with on such a tight racetrack. So yeah, there's definitely no concern there. And then I mean, you know, in that feature on Saturday, as you're trying to come back from your little snafu, you know that you can make certain moves on some of these guys because you can race with them because they're in that feature for a reason. They were the fastest of the however many cars were there. You said what, about 50 were there? So, I mean that's
No, it was actually 90. They
there was
split us
90
up into two
cars.
flights. It was 90 cars,
Holy
Jordan.
damn! All right, I was way off. But that's
So a little bit off on his numbers, but it's all good. It was 90 cars split in two flights, right? 50 and 50 in each flight, or actually might have been 100.
dang.
No, they capped him to 90. So it must have been 45 and 45.
Right.
And then we ran from there. So just we've always had really good luck there. And really we've had a on the dirt, we've had a good start to the year, just in general, right? Like we'll go back to Volusia a little bit, but I felt I had speed there, just a few hiccups here and there. The TQ stuff, we struggled a little bit this year, but we kind of know where we made our mistakes on that, and that's a month ago. We're on to dirt stuff now, right? But
Right. Yeah.
I got to tell you, Trenton was wild. They had the largest crowd they've ever had. They've had a great atmosphere, right? When you get out of your car, you're getting cheers, boos. That's what makes it, right? Unbelievable event, good part of it. Closest thing I can do is saying an indoor event that makes it exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I was able to get down there. I'd love to see that race in person. Um, of course, now it just escaped me. I wanted. Oh, I like how was I was honestly surprised to see the car you were in. How did that deal come about with you and Anamacher?
So it was I was Lamar Schaefer has been my God, we've been together for 10 years on and off.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Lamar builds the motors for John Oliver. John Oliver and Nanamacher. Nanamacher works with John Oliver stuff. They became buddies. Keith actually bought Lamar's car. So when he came back to us and he says, "Hey, I want to, like let's do something. This is Billy's favorite car." We ran it in Trenton, under the pretense of Keith, Lamar, John, a bunch of us all together. That made something right, and
Yeah.
it was a pretty cool event. Keith obviously worked with my dad for a bunch of years ago. God, I can remember when I was a kid working with him, so it was kind of cool.
Yeah. A little
Just a
blast from the
neat
past,
event.
right?
I'm a little blast from the past, right? Like I think he'd agree. I'm a little different than some of the kids he might work with nowadays. I kind of have my thoughts, but I'm a little more like, okay, what do we think here? You get wiser the older you get, right? You just kind of pick and choose what you say and at the right times, or you try to be. There, I mean, don't get me wrong, I get feisty. Um, thank God for edit because I definitely get feistier than you guys see me on videos.
I know you can get feistier than what people see. You keep it pretty calm, cool, and collected when it comes to the vlog videos of this channel, which is good. It's good for it's good for everybody. But I know that you can get a little animated, which is great from a friend perspective. I love seeing you get hyped up like that. Maybe people need to see a little bit more of it. Maybe
Yeah, I mean, it's really that I care, right? Like you
exactly.
dedicate your life to this, right? Like everything I've done for 20 years is kind of focused on this, right? Like you do a lot for your kids, you do a lot for this, but you give up like everything. And I get a little animated, right? You know,
Hmm.
people come to you and say, well, why am I not running it? Do you put in the time like this, right? You know, racing, you can have a million bucks and still not win races, or you could have 100,000 and win a lot of races. It's all the people you put around you that make you successful and how much drive you have in it at the end of the day, right? I'm always priding myself in we're going to put the best work in, be as efficient as possible, but also we want to win. We're there to win. But usually 10 minutes later, I come down and I'm like, all right, this doesn't pay my bills. We got other stuff going on here, so I'm
Yep.
okay. But there's about 5 to 10 minutes, like you'll see my pure competition come out, and you even see it right now. Like I coach my kids basketball, and I'm like, I can't get the competition out of me, and I'm like getting feisty. I'm like, okay, back it down, right?
Yeah.
That's just the level you're at, and the day I don't care about this sport is the day I think it's time to quit, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's just no sense in being involved anymore if you don't care as much and have the passion like you do right now, and obviously you still do. I mean, that kind of answers one of my questions I have later on is, what's your level at right now where with, with racing, you have BP3 ready. He's obviously got some years left to go before he's going to be doing any kind of competition at your level. But what's the timeline looking like? Is there a timeline, or are you just literally year to year? I still have the fire, and we're just going to keep going.
Yeah, I don't know if this level will keep going for a bunch of years, right? Like I kind of have a set mind thought on where that level stops, right? Um, Kind of more for the personal side of it, which the people that are really close to the program kind of know where I'm at.
Right.
I definitely have a few more years. I'm not gonna do this amount of racing into my late 40s. I could tell you all that, but I'm not gonna quit, right? Like I might just be like a Saturday Night Louie, right? Like, is there something wrong with that? No.
Absolutely not. I would love to see
If
that out of you.
so sooner or later I gotta slow down, and you know, I haven't lost. I should say I lost. You lose a lot thanks to racing, right? I have a lot of friends that I don't see as much as I should, and it's not really the right thing in the world, but it's also because you either give so much to this or you don't take out of it, right? And
Yeah.
I just it's a fine line, right? I don't want to do it my whole life. I don't want to compete at that level. My dad did it way longer than I would, but the sport's different. It just you can't make what you did back then and not have something, right?
Yeah.
So if I can keep going at this, but I remember when I had nothing and everyone would say, "Well, you're Billy Pauch's son." Yeah, but my dad never owned my race cars, right? Like I had a truck that probably shouldn't have towed a trailer that really shouldn't have went up the road, and a modified that really should have had a modified, right? And I struggled my earlier. I was like, maybe if my dad would have been more involved earlier, I would have won. Yada 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 yada, right? But
Yeah.
I appreciate where I'm at because of that. So I hate to give it up. And the people that we've built behind us are the best in the business, right? Like I can't tell you how many people are behind my deal anymore. That is unbelievable, the support, and it's just very cool, right?
Yeah, and that's what makes it go around. And you are extremely lucky and fortunate, but to have those people behind you. But it's exactly like you said. You've worked your ass off to get to that point. Yes, I remember watching you in those days of like, exactly like you said. Just not so much a struggle, but the grind
Yeah,
to get to where
not
to
as good,
get
not
to
as good
what
as
you
I could have
have.
been, right? Like you just live and learn
Yeah.
life lessons, right? I think when I first started, like even before my wife, I was more interested in chasing women, and then I got really into racing, and then I had nothing, right? And then I
Yep.
kind of like grew up, and I was like, all right, we're gonna figure it out. And about 22, 23 clicked. Maybe if it should have clicked at 18, it'd be different. But Ray Abraham's like one of our good friends, and he's always like, you race more than most people, right? Um, I don't even care about NASCAR anymore, really, to be honest with you. It wasn't for a while there, but dude, I'm sitting at the fence, right? I'm sitting at the fence of Volusia this year. It's me and little Billy, right? We're sitting there hanging on the fence. Here comes Devin Moran. Here comes Tyler Earp. Here comes Kyle Bronson. They're like, hey, what's doing, Pouch? I'm like, son of a gun, these guys know who I am, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I know like that's there, right? But it's like, man, it's kind of cool, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't really care. Like Kyle Larson will say hello like this and that, but you built yourself to that, which is kind of in my words, badass, right? Like, I didn't go that way, but man, I did a lot of different things,
Hmm.
and had a lot of fun along the way. So kind of starting to change my life a little bit. I'm trying to be a little more selective in what I do and not do everything and make sure it's 100% in what you do, right? Takes a lot, but it's definitely a tough challenge.
Yeah. I get it, and I mean, just having my own little knowledge about getting back in a car this past year after having you know kids especially, that really takes. I feel like you have to really maintain that drive to stay at the level, especially the level that you are, because it can very easily just be go through the motions. Hey, we finished top 10, that's good, but it takes a lot more to keep that drive, especially at our age and where we are
Sure.
in our
Sure.
lives. to keep that drive, keep that passion, to want to constantly be the best, um, that changes, I think, with the age and everything going on. But you've definitely conquered it somehow, um, and that's probably just because of how you are as a competitor, as you've said, and also the team you've built behind you, and that's something to be proud of for sure.
And that's interesting, right? Like that's something me and my dad argue with a little bit, right? So he's even more feistier than I was, but this is all he did, y'all. So like, I think about 150 wins, right? Like 10, 15 championships, right? Like I'm not gonna do 700. I'm not gonna do this, but man, my real job is pretty impressive, y'all. Though I don't talk about it on here, but I have a really good job outside of work, and I focus on that during the day, right? So if I might make a racing call or two here or there, right, during the day, but I focus on that. And then once I get out, I go to the shop from a certain time, like with my kids, right? And we probably normally don't get a lot done. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't.
Right. Yeah.
And then we come back, we eat dinner, and then we come back to the shop, right? Yesterday we worked all day. The kids rode their bikes outside, right? But we have kind of a big setup here that kind of works where we can do that. If I didn't have that balance, it was a choice about a bunch of years ago. I had to figure out, okay, how do I keep this going without moving it, right? And we were able to move closer to the shop and we can go back and forth. We got four-wheelers, golf carts, we got a whole bunch of stuff. Definitely a challenge, right? My wife puts up with a lot to allow us to do it. She's the same, even though we once in a while pick her on stuff, but we're
Shout out
chill.
to Michelle.
Um, yeah, shout out to Michelle. I
Hmm.
mean, I was on this call. I was actually in the shop. I just called her and our hamster got loose and she was freaking out, but she caught it without me because I didn't see my phone. So that was she's like, I called you 3 times. I was like, I wasn't paying attention to it. Um, but it's definitely a tricky challenge, right? I see people out there, they're like, oh, my husband's into racing. I'm like, yeah, but they're 2, 3 nights a week, man. When you do it 7 days a week, it's a lot, right? It's everything and anything you could take out of it. Very expensive sport. Um, Sidetracked, right? I just hope we can see it continue for another 5, 10 years. Don't know where it's going. Like to just see my kid at least get a little bit of shot into it. World changes, right? Us car guys are getting less and less. They're getting more tuner stuff like that.
Yeah,
But we'll see. I thought that years ago, and we're still here doing it. So I
that's
don't
true.
know.
That's true. Yeah, no, guys thought that, like you said, probably in the last decade. And now here we are, still doing it, a little bit differently, but it's still here. Um, let's talk Volusia. How you had a really good run the first night. It seemed like time trials kind of did you in the second night. Um, what are your overall thoughts about how your week in Volusia went? Um, was impressed with how you ran. It just seemed like a lot of track. Honestly, it seemed like it was a track position kind of week, where if you didn't start up front, you really didn't run there.
Yeah, it was a track position week, right? Like, but you also gotta remember, we all got the best of the best. We all go to Volusia with $60,000 big blocks, brand new cars. We're all fairly good drivers. The first night I went out and set Super Dirt Car Series quick time, which was kind of cool. Never actually did that before.
That was really cool. Yeah,
Went out, we drew two. Shepard kind of played some games on restarts, him and Alex, and I ended up fourth, which sucked, but just more of a restart game than anything, y'all. They would shuffle, I would shuffle, and I just couldn't shuffle the right way they would shuffle.
yeah,
Um, I'm still happy with the fourth, but I wanted to be a little better. The second night we were time trial good, right? Like I hit six the first lap, and I'm like rip turn 1 and 2, go down the backstretch, and this Canadian guy like parked it right in the front turn 3 and 4, and just killed my whole second night. So I ended up timing sixth. So I ran third to third in the heat race, and for no reason I couldn't pass that night. We started 12th and got 12th. Third night, I just I went into three on my time trial lap, and I actually went to cut the car, and it cut faster than I want. And instead of like staying in the moisture, I hit the slick, and I really timed like sixth in my group, which was buried me in the heat race. And we went sixth to fifth, which was unfortunate there. That it kind of, I think I started 18th and we got 12th. We got 6 cars, which wasn't really nothing to shine about. And then the last night we went back out. We timed third, so it put us on second in the heat race, and Stu kind of got a real good jump on the restart in the heat. We ran second to him. Thought I could stay with him. I moved around, so it's put us eighth. BP3 drew eight in the last night, put us eighth. We actually got a good restart. We were getting 6. I come off at 2. I'm hauling the mail, and I thought Stu was gonna stay down. And when he came up, we just went like this, and it kind of like shot me up in the loose stuff, and I went back to 15th, and I got back to 10th.
Yeah.
Probably should have been my night for a top 5, y'all. Just I don't know. We talk about track position, track, and I thought I had the opportunity to take it, and it just wasn't there. That it ended up costing me spots, and that was just the downside to it, right?
Yeah, that's like Mike and I talked about, racing is like football in those little moments. It's a game of inches, and you just miss. And there was a bit of a cushion. Most of those nights too, you just miss it. Next thing you know, there's guys up in the marbles, up and getting screwed up, and um, you know, I've been there a time or two myself. You have a good run on the outside, you want to make it work, and it just misses by that little bit, and next thing you know, like you said, you're back in 15th, and now you're playing catch up the rest of the night, and ended up with a solid finish to the week.
When I got
Um,
to 10th, right? It was
yeah,
8th overall. It was way better in the first week. So I look at things for sure. We struggled to qualify. We qualified all night. This year we fought top tens. You go back 1 or 2 more years and you try to fight for wins, and if you don't do that, then it's time to do something different.
yeah.
Always been my theory. I'm not one to keep doing something if I ain't getting any better at it. Just you try to figure it out, right? So
Oh, so you're
I've
not a
kind of
definition of insanity kind of guy. You won't just beat your head against the wall to do the same thing over and over again.
I guess I kind of am because I've done this for 20 years, but I just won't keep doing the same damn thing, right? Like
You'll change it
I
up a
do
little
get
bit. Yeah.
tired. I changed up a little bit, right? Like, I gotta go, like, okay, do I really need to do this? This routine's getting kind of beat. I mean, there's a few times, right, where you do the same thing every Saturday night. You walk in, you're like, okay, is this all I'm gonna do? Um, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? You think about that sometimes, and your life changes, right? You start in January, and then I kind of look for places really that have a couple Saturday nights off. Everyone's like, why don't you run Grandview? I'm like, I love Grandview, love what they're doing, but just don't think I can make the grind schedule and still compete at other racetracks like I'd like to do.
Oh yeah. Well, listen, Granby is a whole nother animal. You got to be there week in week out to be out to be competitive there. I mean, that's most racetracks anyway, but that place will chew you up and spit you out real quick. What
Yes, it will, right?
what
So it's like, okay, what makes sense?
so what is the Saturday night plan? I'm pretty sure I know it, but what is? Tell everybody else what we got going on for Saturday nights.
Go to the beach and sit on the beach.
Let's do it. All right,
Nah, I'm just joking. You all know I don't sit on the beach very well. Well, I will, but get better.
we're both
We'll
pasty
be
white. We
back.
won't we won't last.
No, we're done on that side of it. We'll like I said, we'll be back at Bridgeport for another year, chasing the track second year track championship, right? You know, Bridgeport's unique. I love Doug Rose, love the place. Not a big slide or die person there, the way it races, but it's unique. We'll be back for another year. They put some rule changes in this year. It's going to make me think a little bit outside the box, but I like that stuff. Then we're going to go back and chase Georgetown Speedway again, all their races, the South Series, and pretty much all the Kutztown races. One of my things this year is I'm going to drive the Speedster I drove again for Ralph. But that's also the thing is I don't want to miss any of BP3's races at Kutztown. Like he might do some other ones without me, but my whole turn a few things down this year to make sure that I can be there for him.
Yeah. No, that's great. You just answered all the rest of my questions I had, which would have been if you're going to go to Kutztown. So now we know. So you got a deal going for Kutztown. You've got um, Billy running there too. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. That's really cool.
That's
That's
fun, right?
yeah.
I enjoy those nights, right? Then I'm gonna drive for Brightenstein's again, which we had a great year last year. We won every big race there is. We're gonna kick that off for the Grandview Big Diamond Opener weekend there, I think, in a couple first week in April, I think it is, and kind of fits our schedule a little bit. So hopefully we can tab in. I might drive for the Palmers again a little bit that I drove for
Okay.
last week. I'm not really certain there yet, so we'll see. And then for those of you, we'll kind of gonna make a big PR deal about it. September 6th, I think we're off at Bridgeport. I'm gonna probably be looking at making my late model debut in a super late model. So gonna be kind of cool at Bridgeport. Just kind of
Okay.
finalize that deal this week. So always one of them bucket list things that I've always wanted to do. So we're gonna work towards it.
All right, so we have an official announcement here that you're going to be running a super late model in September
Yep,
at
September 6th at Bridgeport for their
Bridgeport.
final show. Yep.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think they had that show last year. All right, cool. Yeah. Well, there you go, folks. A little tidbit, a little bit of sneak peek into Billy Pouch Jr.'s got going on special. That's going to be neat.
Right.
You've never ran anything like a late model before.
I ran an asphalt late model practice 1 year
Right.
wall years ago. Never run a super late model dirt, right?
Yeah.
So kind of cool. It's just one of those things I've always thought was badass, and got the opportunity. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna take this one and run with it, you know?
Is that something that came to you, or did you kind of pursue that?
Nah, we've been busting back and forth on it a little bit, right? I mean, it's actually with Jim Bernheisel, so it was
Gotcha.
a
Okay.
deal where me and Jim have been friends for a long time, and we've been joking about it, and we were able to finally put it together this winter.
That's cool. That's really cool. Well, that's going to be really neat to see all the official stuff that comes out and what you end up doing. That's going to be really neat. Those things are badass, man. So that's going to be a really neat time. And
Agreed, 100%, buddy.
we touched a little bit on. Well, we're not going to get into. We're not going to get into that. I think I saw you had a car at. Did you have a car at Motorsports that had the new doors and quarters, the new
New plastic on,
plastic doors and
yeah,
quarters on them?
did. I didn't have it in Florida yet. We have one car with that on there right now. We're
Yeah.
gonna give it a shot here when we start the gear, see what we think of it. It's definitely new material, right? It's flexy and kind of bends back and forth. Ask me in about May 1st what I think of it, because right now the verdict's out. People love it or hate it. Just I figured I'd like to make some noise and roll it into motorsports with it.
Yeah, and give everyone a little bit of a closer look at what it looks like on the car, and so that's really neat. Yeah, it's honestly it just needs to be tested. Yeah, that's kind of what my conversation with Mike a couple weeks ago ended up seeing. Like, listen, it needs to be just run, see how it flexes, see how it does this or that, and if the vinyl stays on it, and all that kind of good stuff. So it's really just gonna need to be run, like you said, for a couple weeks, couple months, and see what people think of it after that.
Agreed, 100%.
Um, damn, man. All right, I only got one
I'm
more
good.
question for you.
See, I stumped the great Zambini, Jordon Cox.
I only got one more question for you. What is your opinion? And I think I'm gonna hit a button here. What is your opinion about people wearing their own apparel?
Oh God, there's Mandy in the background. Hey, Mandee Pauch wears her own apparel, so see, she just walked on, folks. You don't who you don't wear your own apparel. I have to say that to somebody that I was like, oh, this guy looks cool. He's like, oh, that's me. And I'm like, you don't wear your own apparel, right? Like, I'm sorry. That's just
Listen,
Look, here's my approach
Go
on
ahead.
all of it, right?
Go ahead.
If you can't, it's like a race. If you can't say how you did in a one sentence, just say you sucked.
Okay. Yeah, I
Right?
guess
Like
that
if you gotta tell me, well, at 5, I ran the top, then the bottom, the car was dialed in, it was going this way. I ran 9th. Oh man, I just sucked. Sorry,
and
man. I ran 9th.
and
Like,
I finished 10th in the
give it
Consi.
to me straight. You give it to me straight and don't wear your own t-shirt. Too common sense for Billy Pauch Jr.
All right, that's fair. I listen. I get it. I get it. I don't know, from somebody who, I only had one shirt ever made, and I wore the crap out of it for myself. So it's just my own thing. For me, it was, I designed it. I liked the way it looked. I wanted to wear it, but from somebody, for other guys that maybe have a few others made up, they want to see other people wearing it. They don't have to wear it themselves. I get it. You're a little too cool for me. I get it.
It would have been a lot cooler if you said Courtney wore the shit out of it instead of you. But I mean, to be honest, right? Like,
I wore my stuff. I had to wear
okay,
it because nobody else would.
At least you
All
own
right.
it, right? That's all right. I'm sure your cousin Adam would have.
Just remember, Jordan, you wanted to have him on. Just remember this, okay? All right. Okay. All right.
Did I get pressured into having him on, or did I want him to be on? I'm not entirely sure where we landed on that.
I don't know. I don't know, right?
No, I've been no,
You know,
you've been
so
ducking me. You've been ducking me for years, man. I needed to come on here. We got
we need to get on here and talk about, right? So let's go down the all-time winningest Cox list here right now. Where we got it. What's the Cox featured win total here? Start from each one of you.
no. It's the old guys have us beat by a mile, so we don't have to go into that.
Uh,
Speak,
I know. Poor Adam, you got him beat up.
yeah. Speaking of the elder,
I gotta keep him honest. Sorry, Adam. I don't want to get sidetracked. He was waving to me Saturday. He didn't give me the middle finger for once, so we're good.
well, that's good. He gave you the
That's
whole
a start,
hand, not
right?
just the middle finger. Good.
Yes, exactly.
Speaking of the elder Coxes, we have one in the chat. My dad's actually in here, so you got Phil Cox asking how many races are you going to run this year.
I cut back 5, Phil. Man, I'm down to like 75 on the schedule. It used to be 80. I'm getting old. I got gray hair now.
That's true.
So for those of you that don't know, Phil was my dad's crew chief up until February 2000. When did my dad retire? 3 years ago now. I got to work with Phil a few times. He's the most please don't get mad at me, Phil, for saying this. The most mild-mannered person I've really worked with, who can kind of calm me down in the right situation. I think all these years later, he should have been a racing psychologist instead of maybe like a mechanic, like, right? He's just got that right personality for the job. So just in general. So shout out to Phil. Sorry for doing that.
He knows a thing or two as well.
Yeah, very smart with that, but he's always good at like, okay, it's gonna be okay. Don't overthink this,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And sometimes, so for those of you on here, right, race car drivers are little head cases here too, you know?
Oh, he's real. Believe me, he's real good at just even when I was fired up, he just give me a couple minutes and just walk away.
Yep.
He just let you have your own little corner and just be mad or set set yourself off for a little bit, and then he'll come to you when he thinks when he thinks you're ready for him.
Called me at the perfect time. He called me Saturday morning, Volusia, told me don't give up on maintenance and get back to it. So he was an A for motivational because at that time of the week you're about shot and ready to go home. He's been there. He knows it.
Yeah, he's been there a time or two. Oh boy. All right, Bill. I don't want to hang you up too much longer. I appreciate you giving me as much time as you did. I'm sure you listen. Yeah, we got 8:30 coming up here. I'm sure you got to
Oh
get back.
no, you ran me past my 30 minutes, Jordan. I gave you 30 minutes today. I'm an official down to the thing here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We got to keep you on product, but thank you for everything tonight. Jordan, you're doing a great job. I watched a little bit on the beginning. I won't be a stranger. You'll get me back here sooner or later, late March, April. It just gets tougher and tougher for me to join this stuff. But
yeah,
good rainy weekend will give us a good conversation to bring some not Friday night lights, Monday night lights, back to the stadium.
Yeah, man. I appreciate the time. I appreciate what you said. That means a lot to me, and I appreciate the time. Yeah, we'll get you back. We'll get all you guys back on here, get you some updates as the season goes on. Hopefully, we can be talking about wins every week and get you guys in here.
Yeah, we don't want to be talking about bits and force after a while. It's like bleh.
Yeah. All right, bud. Well, enjoy the rest of the night.
Thanks,
Say
buddy.
hi to Michelle and
Have a
the
great
kids.
night.
We'll
I'm
talk
going back to work.
All right. Sounds
Talk to you,
good. See you, bud. All right. Billy Pauch Jr. on Monday Night Live. And now it's just back to me. Again, appreciate Billy giving me some time there. And also Mandee and Mike for helping hook up everything in the shop so we can talk to them tonight. I know I wanted to get to a few questions in the chat here for Billy, but we kind of, like I said, ran into some time. Brian said Trenton was fantastic. Yeah, Trenton it looked like good racing. Let's see here. What changed at Bridgeport? Honestly, I should have asked him because I'm not really sure myself. That would have been good. I didn't even think about that. We kind of blew right past what he said there. So I'm gonna have to ask him. Maybe I'll come back on when I come back on next week. I'll have an answer for that one because I didn't even look that up. Yeah, right. How many? Yeah, he is a little bit of a slacker. All right, guys. Let's see. Appreciate everybody hanging out tonight. We're gonna get out of here. Um, again, thank you to Billy. Thank you to Manny and Mike. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to these guys and hang out with you guys. We'll be back next week, same time. It looks like both platforms worked great. Appreciate everybody. Yeah, Grandview had the big rule changes with the right side pan art and all that. So we didn't really even get into that. I wanted to talk to. I know he's talked about it on a podcast with Mandee. So you can definitely find that out. You can find his opinions out on that. Speaking of the podcast, Dirt Track Confessions, new episode will be out tomorrow at 5:00. So you can catch Mandee on her podcast tomorrow. Next week, we'll have a little bit to talk about, just with some stuff coming up in the racing world. So we'll be back next week live, same time, Monday Night Live here on Dirt Track Untold. Again, everybody, I appreciate y'all for stopping by and hanging out with me and hanging out with Billy as well. Yeah, come on back next week and we'll do it all over again. Again, appreciate y'all, and everybody have a good night. Stay happy, stay healthy, and we'll see you at the racetrack. Sound good? Have a good night, guys. Appreciate you.